Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers defeat the Montreal Canadiens by a score of 4-3. They snapped their 5-game losing streak, and it is a game-winning goal by Kaapo Kakko with 24 seconds left. It was a power play goal. The Rangers actually scored 3 power play goals on the night, or I should say in the day, matinee game. But Rangers had a good start, which we hadn't really seen from them in a while. It was not pretty at all from them as a whole. They had a 3-1 lead going into the third. Montreal ties it up at 3, and a bad penalty by Kirby Dach, a double minor high sticking penalty on Mika Zibanejad. Zibanejad gets high sticked, and after that first half of the power play expired, if it had just been a 2-minute power play, maybe this game goes to overtime. But with it being a 4-minute minor, it extends, and the second unit gets it done. And it's Kakko that scores the goal. So good for him as he has been. What has not been a great season for the Rangers, obviously. He has been fairly consistent. I'd say that he hasn't been great within this bad stretch, but I felt like, him going to center, which he no longer is playing due to the fact that Filip and Chris Kreider returned in this game. So that's big news. And so with the lines, they were a little bit different. And also healthy scratches were kind of interesting as well. So let's just jump right into that. Definitely a lot to discuss in this one. Rangers quick turnaround coming off of the 1:00 loss to the Flyers just the day before. And, really couldn't afford to lose to Montreal. Montreal's been not so bad lately. A team with skill. And really, honestly, they were, for large stretches of this game, the better team than the Rangers. Jonathan Quick was in net, which was expected. But the healthy scratches were Riley Smith and Johnny Brodzinski. Brodzinski, no surprise. Right? I mean, especially when there's going to be 2 forward healthy scratches, you figure Brodzinski will be one of them. Riley Smith, that one caught me a little by surprise. He definitely was not good in that Flyer game. There was a couple of bad turnovers, a penalty that wasn't good. I feel like on the whole, he's been all right, but it is interesting to see that they were willing to sit him out because he is a veteran. Now, obviously, he's not like a mainstay Ranger. He's a new Ranger. It's his first season on the team and may very likely be his only season on the team. But I felt like that was an interesting decision. And I take it more of a positive than a negative because it meant that Brett Berard stayed in the lineup specifically, as well as Adam Edstrom. And I think Adam Edstrom, I don't recall if he's been a healthy scratch this season. I believe he's played. I want to actually confirm that. If Edstrom at any point missed the game, Rangers have now played, 23 games? And Edstrom has played 23. Yeah, so he's actually been in every game this season. But yeah, they stuck with the Jimmy Veazes of the world, Adam Edstrom, and yeah, they did scratch Riley Smith. So, and as far as next game goes against the Devils, with the Rangers coming off a win, I guess it's possible that again Smith is scratched. It should be of note that Brett Berard did get hurt in the third period. He did return though. Berard's ice time wasn't that much. There were a good amount of penalties in this game, and so maybe you can attribute it to that a little bit. But here were the lines. And I would say that for the first time, even though the ice time doesn't really give you that because of, again, a lot of special teams, I felt as if we saw not as much of the Zibanejad line and more of the Chytil line. And the big reason is because Chytil was with Panarin. The line was Panarin, Chytil, and Cooley, which is a pretty exciting line when you think about it. Obviously, Panarin is Panarin, and Chytil and Cooley have been 2 of the best Ranger players this season. Chytil, when he was healthy, was playing really good hockey, and Cooley speaks for, and again, Cooley has been tremendous. Then the next line is Trocheck centering Berard and Lafreniere. So, Trocheck and Lafreniere have been on the same line, mostly the last couple of seasons, typically with Panarin, but this time it's Berard. And then it's Kreider, Zibanejad, Kakko. Now, that's a line that we've seen in the past. One that wasn't overly noticeable in this one. I felt like their ice time wasn't that high. And then the fourth line was Edstrom, Carrick, and Veazey. So that one makes a lot of sense. And so essentially, Brett Berard kind of, in some ways, took the Riley Smith spot, if you will. But great to see Chytil and Kreider back. Chytil really looked no worse for wear. It wasn't a perfect game by him, but I thought he was flying out there. The speed was good. And so he missed 7 games and returns. And Chris Kreider, his biggest contributions is the special teams, really on that power play, being that net front presence did help in a couple of the Ranger goals. So I'm all right. If these are the lines that they're going to roll out, I'm all right with it. I do sense, though, for many reasons, that they're not going to stick with them. But just the fact that they went Panarin Chytil with Chytil's first game back, I like that. Look, I've said it a lot. I don't love Kreider with Zibanejad, but sometimes it does make sense. And in this case, it's all right as long as you're going to play that line a little bit less, which it seemed like they did. Now on defense, they did stick with the D pairs that ended the last game, which I'm all right with. Lindgren Fox, Miller Schneider, Jones Struba. Now, Struba's ice time is really low, in part because he gets into a fight early in the game, which we'll talk about once we start discussing the particulars of this game. Struba only plays 13:37, which even with that fight, like that's pretty significantly less. I do think there was a concerted effort to maybe make some changes with the time on ice distribution, and I think I don't mind it. It was a heavy dose of Lindgren Fox. They clearly played the most, and then I would then say Miller and Schneider was next, and then Jones and Struba not too far behind, but Struba significantly with the least amount of ice time. Again, though, maybe that 5-minute, maybe that fight did skew it just a bit. So, just in terms of looking at the stats, not too many standouts. Again, you got to, keep in mind, obviously, you have these power play goals. So, naturally, you have Panarin with a goal and an assist, Zibanejad with a goal and an assist, and Fox with 2 assists. Again, kind of, via the power play, for the most part, at least. But actually, no, exclusively, because the one even strength goal they had, in terms of the points, it did not come from any of them. So it was just that combination for those power play goals. So Jonathan Quick, he made some good saves. He's played better. I felt as if the Cole Caulfield goal, the second goal for the Canadiens, the first goal of 2 in the third period for them, was one that Quick would want to have back. Although Caulfield was sneaky because his eyes were not, they were looking to pass. So if you're looking at his eyes, you wouldn't have thought he was going to shoot. So I do understand why he was thrown off, but that's one that he liked to say. But either way, Quick has just gotten the job done and been clutch. And there were situations where this game could have gone another way, and Quick did make some key saves when he had to. So he certainly wasn't bad, but I think the high standard that Quick has shown at certain points this year would lead you to believe that, he could have done better. But again, he's kind of a non, in terms of describing this game, he's somewhat of a non-factor, and just glad that he won. And now I believe his win total career-wise is 398. So very close to a milestone, Jonathan Quick, and, should happen sooner than later, you would think. So Sam Montembeault in goal for Montreal. They had not played. There was a lot of Friday, Black Friday NHL games. Montreal was not included in that. So the Rangers were on a back-to-back. Montreal wasn't. Keep in mind again that the Rangers did play Montreal back in October, a little over a month ago. And Rangers were playing better at that point. And there was a big hit by Jacob Trouba on Justin Barron. And I wonder, Barron was not in the lineup. I wanted to look this up. I wouldn't be surprised, but I could be wrong, that Justin Barron possibly has not played since that Jacob Trouba hit. Again, guesswork on my part, and apologies if I'm wrong. But, okay. Take all that back. I'm totally wrong. He was in the lineup today. Never mind. He was actually in the lineup. So that is what I just said. Scrap that. He was in. But the fact of the matter is that was a big hit. And I don't believe in that game Trouba ended up getting into a fight or answering the call on that one. Either way, regardless of all of that, Jacob Trouba gets into a fight very early in this game with Josh Anderson, 1 minute and 58 seconds in. And it's twofold. Because I think that's important to bring up. A lot of Ranger fans saying, hey, like this was kind of like, hey, like Trouba getting the boys going. And yes, I do think that's part of it for sure. But I also think that Josh Anderson probably went to him and said, hey, like this is, got to happen kind of thing, like hockey code. So again, twofold. And for Trouba, it made sense to do it. Anderson definitely got the better of him in this fight. Trouba was able to kind of stay up, and it went on probably longer than it should have. But yeah, Anderson definitely got the better of him. But the Rangers definitely appreciated Trouba fighting. Again, my thoughts on Trouba are what they are. This doesn't change them, but good for him for dropping the gloves and trying to provide a spark. And the Rangers did have a good first period, to be fair. One of the best first periods they've had in some time. It was the best period they had in this game. And at 7:22, Heineman holds Chris Kreider. Then a minute into that power play, Mike Matheson delay a game. So it's a 5-on-3 for the Rangers, and they do take advantage of that 5-on-3. And it would be a goal by Artemi Panarin, his 13th goal of the season, assisted by Fox and Zibanejad. And this was a really good shot by Panarin from distance, but Kreider providing that screen in front made it tough on Montembeault to see it, and it makes it 1-0 Rangers. But a quick response by Montreal at 11:47, Mike Matheson scores his second goal of the season, assisted by Gallagher and Slavkovsky. And a bit of a defensive breakdown by the Rangers in their own zone. Things go a little bit haywire. Lafreniere out of position. Again, I want to see better from Lafreniere defensively. It just hasn't been great in the defensive zone specifically. And that was a shift where I believe it was Jones-Trouba was the defensive pair, and they were kind of running around a bit to a point where Matheson was in a good position, and he scores past Jonathan Quick. Again, just too much leakage there from the New York Rangers at a point when they were really playing pretty well. Then the tide kind of turns a little bit at that point in the first period as the Rangers take a couple of penalties. At 12:52, Chris Kreider holds Caden Gooley. Rangers kill it off. And then at 16:31, Vincent Trocheck, high six, Christian Dvorak. They kill that off. Then the Rangers do leave the period with the lead. With less than 4 seconds left in the period, it's a goal by Vincent Trocheck, his sixth goal of the season, assisted by Lafreniere and Lindgren. So goals in back-to-back games for Trocheck, which is good. And a nice bit of, pressure in the zone. Lindgren kind of getting it to Lafreniere in the corner. He wheels it up top. A little bit of patience, puts the shot towards the net, and a nice tip in by Trocheck, who is battling the defenseman in front. Nice job by him. And that deflection off of the tip of Trocheck's stick allows it to throw Montembeault off a bit, and it's a big goal at the end of that period. And that's a theme here a little bit. Rangers getting late period goals was very key to this victory. So they take a 2-1 lead there. Second period, at 2:26, Sam Carrick is called for unsportsmanlike conduct. And this was in response to a hit by Jock Ash. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. And I had it too, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Anyway, he's the one that hits. I think it was Lafreniere. And it was a little bit it wasn't a great hit. It was a little bit late. It was like knee on knee. And so Carrick, kind of standing up for Lafreniere, ends up taking the penalty as, again, it was the right call, smart by Jakash to not drop the gloves. And, that's what happened there. So Rangers do kill it off. And then let's jump to 16:14 of the second period, where Josh Anderson is called for roughing Ryan Lindgren. And that was kind of a weak call, to be fair. If I'm Montreal in general with this game, I'm a little bit upset by some of the calls or lack thereof, to be fair. Really, if I'm Marty St. Louis, I'm not thrilled. But the Rangers do take advantage of that, and it's a goal by Mika Zibanejad, his fifth goal of the season, power play goal, assisted by Panarin and Fox at 17:03. And this was Zibanejad's first power play goal of the year, which is pretty wild, considering that through good times and bad times, Zibanejad has been someone that has scored power play goals at a pretty good clip in his career. And very similar to the Panarin goal, where Kreider is just in front, making it tough on the goalie and the defense, and Zibanejad good on Zibanejad to just take a wrist shot. A lot of times he loves being in his patented spot for that one-time slap shot. This was more Panarin like, or even I know Fox has no goals in the air, but just taking that wrist shot, simple accuracy, didn't need crazy speed on it, just didn't see it, and Rangers make it 3-1. Then things get a little bit feisty towards the end of the second period. At 18:34, a bunch of penalties. Even Jonathan Quick as well. And it's a play where I think it was Kirby. It's interesting because Kirby Doc Zibanejad ends up kind of rearing its ugly head for Montreal later on. But I think Doc was pushing Zibanejad into Quick. This causes a skirmish. Quick, hits Doc, I think. And then, who was involved in this? Dennis Savard, Lindgren. I'm surprised they didn't call a penalty on Will Cooley. And that's not the first time I'm going to say this in this episode either. Will Cooley was involved with Shakash. And I'm surprised that they didn't call any penalty on Cooley. I thought that, they could have. But what ends up happening is Slavkovsky ends up getting the double minor. And they even acknowledged it in the box score description, like that he did rough Will Cooley. And honestly, he did more than Cooley did, but you would have figured Cooley would have gotten 2 minutes somewhere along the line there. Anyway, after all of that, Rangers end up with a power play, but they don't score on it. And so we go to and that goes into the third period. So it's 3-1 Rangers going to the third. Rangers' plan has been slipping, but it gets a little bit worse in the third period. A couple of failed clear attempts end up in the back of the Ranger net. The first one being at 4:16, Cole Caulfield scores his 14th goal of the season, assisted by Nick Suzuki. And this is one where Chris Kreider is unable to clear the puck. He should have and didn't. And Kaapo Kakko, probably could have done a better job as well in support. Zach Jones getting a little bit too aggressive as well, leaving Keandre Miller as the only one back. And that's where Caulfield has the option to pass and decides to shoot. Again, he kind of fooled Quick with his eyes and goes 5-hole. So that makes it 3-2 Montreal. And then another bad turnover by the Rangers. At 14:07, the Canadiens tied up. Nick Suzuki scoring his 9th goal of the season, assisted by Hudson and Caulfield. So this was one where Will Cooley and then Filip are unable to get into the zone. Keandre Miller maybe getting a little bit aggressive, and it's a quick pass to Suzuki. Nothing Quick could do about it. But again, bad job there in both instances. Same part of the ice. Couldn't get it out. Defenseman getting a little bit too aggressive, and here we are. So 3-3 at this point. And Montreal really had a chance to maybe even just win this game regulation. That's the way it felt. But what was really, really key and was the game at 17:20, Kirby Doc, who's had a really tough year for Montreal, is called for a double minor high sticking penalty against Mika Zibanejad. So, and that 4 minutes ends up being key because if it was only 2, they might have been able to kill that off. What ends up happening, and I should also note, this reminds me, there was a point in this game on that 5-on-3, they actually had Lafreniere on that power play instead of Trocheck. Something to keep in mind. Now, on the 5-on-4, it was Trocheck, what we're used to. But it was Lafreniere instead of Vincent Trocheck on a 5-on-3. So something to keep in mind for the future. This was a situation where Zibanejad, I believe, because he was high-sticked, was not allowed on to start that power play. And so it ends up being Lafreniere for him. And then Zibanejad ends up being on with the second unit. And eventually it gets to the second unit. And I guess I would say that there's a lot of controversy, maybe a lot strong, but a good amount. Rangers do a good job of keeping the puck in the zone. And I believe this was clean. And Zibanejad was a reason for that. And it's funny, Zibanejad was about to change. I could see that he was looking towards the bench, maybe for Lafreniere. Again, mind you, at that point, there's maybe, when he's looking towards the bench, maybe there's like 30 to 35 seconds at most left in the period. This power play would have moved over into overtime. There wouldn't have been much left in it, but still. Either way, Zibanejad does a nice job of keeping it in. Will Cooley really takes down Armia. And they don't call that. And they should have, honestly. Cooley got away with some stuff. But, like, that's what you do love about Will Cooley, is he has that, like, doesn't give a fuck attitude to his game. And it ends up being a situation where Filip Chytil, ironically, is the one that keeps it in again. So I guess I shouldn't say Zibanejad keeps it in. It's more like that he gets it in cleanly, more so than a keep in. Filip Chytil's the one that kept it in when Cooley took down Armia, which is funny because Cooley and Chytil were the two on the tying goal that were unable to clear it out of the defensive zone. This time, Chytil is able to keep it in. Armia's down, so the Rangers kind of have numbers. And this is where Zach Jones, with great vision, carries it, keeps it enough, keeps possession. Will Cooley has the puck, and Kaapo Kakko is banging his stick, trying to get his attention to Cooley. Cooley with a great backhand pass, and Kakko just absolutely, no doubt, buries it. And it's great to see Kakko with that confidence to do that. Huge goal for him. Will Cooley extends his point streak with that. So it's a goal by Kaapo Kakko, his fourth goal of the season, assisted by Cooley and Zach Jones at 19:36. That power play goal is the third power play goal of the night for the Rangers, and they win the game 4-3. Not pretty at all. Ugly in a lot of ways, but they were able to get the job done. And that's big for a team that was on a 5-game losing streak. You never know how a streak can start or end. I remember 2 seasons ago, Rangers won a very nondescript game against the St. Louis Blues. This, I believe, was a game after the Jacob Trouba helmet toss. And so you just never know what can get it done. And hopefully this can help. Again, Montreal, as much as they've been playing well lately, it's not one of the better teams in the league. Rangers really needed to win this game. So look, like, I don't think they're out of the woods at all. But you do get Chytil back. You do get Kreider back. Like, things are coming together maybe just a little bit. And hopefully this can get them back going. So 13-9-1. Look, if Kakko doesn't get that game-winning goal, the tone of this episode could have been completely different, to be fair. But an interesting game coming up. Next game against the New Jersey Devils at Madison Square Garden. I'll actually be at that game. So it's the first game I'll be going to this season. I really haven't gone to many regular season games in recent seasons. So this will probably be one of the few that I would go to. But looking forward to it, and it being a rivalry matchup and one that has been pretty interesting. In terms of the fights and stuff like that, I don't expect that. Now, it'll be interesting to see, like, there's a lot of history between Matt Rempe and the Devils. Especially considering the state of the lineup. I don't think that Rempe gets called up for this game specifically. Would I be shocked? No, I would not be shocked. But when you consider the fact that you already have Riley Smith as a healthy scratch, like, you're kind of tight on forwards. So to throw Rempe in there, I don't think is necessary. And I don't think that's the way that you want to go about this. But New Jersey looks really good lately. More of the team that we saw 2 years ago as opposed to last year. But yeah, I think that this is a good measuring stick sort of game against a division rival who I think is playoff bound. So we will see. Rangers again, 13-9-1, snap the 5-game losing streak. Kaapo Kakko gets the game-winning goal late to give the Rangers a 4-3 win against the Montreal Canadiens as they begin a 5-game homestand. And game 2 of that homestand will be Monday night against the New Jersey Devils.